All right, welcome to Two Dudes with Attitudes. I'm Jason.
I'm John.
Want to welcome everybody to our very first episode. Uh, Pretty much, the podcast is going to be all about wrestling. We're going to mainly be talking WWE, AEW, maybe some TNA, and probably throw in some indies time to time. Uh, we're excited to be doing this. We've been talking about it for a while now. Um, it's it was really just going to be a podcast only, but we rather did the video side of it too. We're also going to put the audio online for just for the podcast side of it as well. But yeah, we're pretty excited to be doing this. Um, John, I guess we can kind of just give our background a little bit. I've been watching wrestling since right about 1993, right before Raw is War debuted on TV. One of my good friends got me into it. Been to quite a bit of wrestling shows over the years. I've been to, I think, about 4 WrestleManias now. Me and John are actually going to try and go to WrestleMania next year. But been collecting stuff over the years. But like I said, almost about 30 years now. John, I'm not sure. How about you?
I've been watching it probably since maybe as long as you, maybe a little shorter than you. Um, I remember watching, wrestling when it was on, TV and stuff, but there was really wasn't a pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
It was all on like the network television, like USA or cable when cable first came out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been watching it probably as long as you. I can remember uh, Raw's War and all that stuff. But I've only been to a couple of Raws, and a few live shows here and there, but I've never been able to go to a pay per view one. So,
Yeah.
you know, I've been collecting as well for quite a bit. So, and I've known Jason for a long time. We've been friends since like fifth grade, middle
Yep.
school, and
Yep.
on.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
we love wrestling, been in wrestling, and yeah. So that's a little bit on me. He's
Yeah.
got a little bit more background on it than I do, as far as going to live shows all the time and stuff. So,
But yeah,
yeah,
like I said, I think we grew up through the Attitude Era. I think we all can agree. We both can agree that you know that that time frame was a lot more exciting than it is now. Things have changed a lot, but it's good to see where they're going now. The fans being gone during COVID, I think that kind of threw me away a little bit. It was kind of hard to watch at first when they did a Thunderdome. Uh, it was pretty good. When they started putting the virtual fans in, it wasn't too bad, but it still wasn't the same element. So when we watched Money in the Bank Sunday, it really got that feel of how wrestling used to be. So I'm excited, to see where they're going to start going now. I do hope that the product does get a little bit better. Now that they are live again in front of fans. So
I agree with you on that one. That's for sure. Um, hmm. So, what did you think, sir, of the Money in the Bank pay per view this past Sunday? Since we had real fans back in the crowd.
yeah, just to kind of give a quick overview, the pay per view itself wasn't bad. There were some good matches. I feel like the women's match between Charlotte and Rhea were actually stole the show. Um, you know, uh, there was a lot of speculation that everybody thought maybe Becky Lynch would show up, but I feel like it was a good match. I was kind of a little disappointed with the Charlotte taking the title. Um, I do feel like WWE has something for her. A lot of fans talk about how they don't like that she keeps getting the title shots and all that, but at the same time, the Raw side of women's is kind of shorthanded right now. But the pay per view overall, though, I think they did a pretty good job. I don't think there was really any bad matches. The Raw tag team title match. I felt like it probably would have been okay on the pre-show, with the other tag match. But there was a couple of endings that kind of surprised me. Like the women's Money in the Bank, I was really surprised that um, of who won that. But overall, like I said, I think they did pretty good for the first pay per view being back on live. So
I agree with you there. It definitely felt really good to see the fans back in attendance there. It looked like a sold out crowd from what you could see.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, definitely agree with you that the women's match was to me was the top of the show. Um, although the fans didn't seem to see it that way, they were cheering for Becky Lynch,
yeah.
and so
Well,
it
like
just
go ahead. Well, like they said online, is that they were screaming for Becky, but by the end of the match, they were saying this is awesome. So I think at first they didn't, they weren't into it, but once the match got going, they really kicked in and made it an interesting match.
oh yeah, by far. I mean,
Yeah,
it definitely did. So that was definitely a good match. The fans seemed to be really pumped up for it. They seemed
yeah,
really intrigued. They seemed into it. So that was definitely a good thing for WWE, having fans back in the crowd. Made me feel more into it. You know what I'm
yes,
saying?
yes,
I definitely felt like it used to be.
yeah,
So it gave me that sense of like, wow, man, it got me
right,
pumped up, got
right,
my
right,
adrenaline
right.
pumping.
Yeah, because like when they had the Thunderdome, they're putting in the sounds through an audio, and it just ain't the same. It just ain't the same feeling. Um, Before we do keep talking about what's going on, just a little bit of talk about what all we're going to do in this podcast. Like I said, it's of course it's over wrestling. Mainly WWE, AEW, some TNA, maybe Indies. But we're gonna do a lot of those segments. We're gonna talk about our views on what happened on Raw, SmackDown, AEW shows, NXT shows. But we're gonna talk a little bit of news and rumors from time to time. And as things get going, we will be doing some live videos time to time. Um, we want to be able to interact with the people that that are going to be watching, with you the fans. But we're gonna get our social media pages going. Be Facebook, Instagram. We'll get all that going. Once we get all that set up, we'll set up the links, on being on the YouTube page, and then I would say by the time our next episode, we're gonna we'll have all those out there, and then we'll put it into the description on each of the videos. How you can contact us if you got any questions, anything that that you might want to bring up, or things that you all might suggest. We've been listening to quite a few different wrestling podcasts. We're trying to get some ideas. We don't want to copy other people, but there's only really so much you can do, and on them. So there's some things that that we want to try down the road. We've been talking about uh, going up to the hour before leading up to each pay per view. We're probably going to go live. Just talk about the pay per view that's about to happen. Do our predictions and all that. As for video wise, right now, since we're just starting up, we're going to try and do once a week videos. We may, as time goes on, we may add a couple shorter ones time to time, depending on what's going on in the world of wrestling. But like I said, that's our plans right now. So,
Rock on.
yeah. So, anyways, so back to wrestling. What do you think about Goldberg?
Uh, okay, so as we all know, this past Monday Night Raw, Goldberg showed up to challenge Bobby Lashley,
Mm-hmm.
and you know it- the fans were Goldberg, the Goldberg chants were
Right,
going
right.
off. But man, I'm sorry, I don't like it when iota. I don't. Um, the biggest reason. I don't like it. It just he doesn't. There's no lines to it. There's not gonna be much of a storyline. I don't think. I just don't feel like he fits in. The last time we saw Goldberg this year was when he fought Drew McIntyre,
Right.
and it was like a what 5 minute match, if
Yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
McIntyre drilled him and it was over. Um, I just I don't know. I just don't see it. But WWE apparently thinks it's a great idea, and the fans were chanting Goldberg, so I
Yeah.
guess the fans like it.
I agree. I'm one of the people that I enjoy bringing legends back. Because like I said, we grew up to those people. But as we've talked about before, the biggest problem with Goldberg is his matches don't usually last very long. And he don't have very many moves now. And I get it, he's older. I do get that, but I think that's what dismays me from it. But in your opinion, I mean, right now, let's give it out right now. What percent do you think Goldberg has right now to win that championship title? What percentage do you think WWE would actually put the title back on him again?
If I had to say a percent, I would say maybe a 40% chance.
Okay, so you still think about it, almost about half and half right now. Okay,
Yeah,
I mean,
because
WWE surprises us.
yeah,
Um, I honestly at this moment I'm gonna say about a 25% because based off the last two matches of Bobby Lashley, they had him dominate Kofi Kingston at Money in the Bank, and then to see Keith Lee return on Raw, which we can get back in that in a few minutes, but for him to just kind of do the same thing to Keith Lee, you know, they want to make Bobby Lashley look big. They want him to look good. I do like that they did cut out the silly, the women in the ring, champagne, all that. Come on.
I agree with you there.
The more serious note, maybe that's why I really haven't liked Bobby Lashley as champion because of the silliness they did. Because you think about it, look what they're doing with Roman Reigns on SmackDown. They make him so serious. He doesn't giggle. He doesn't laugh. He is so straightforward. And like you can just see it the way he plays that character compared to how he was even a year and a half ago. It's totally different. It's night and day. Like there's nothing wrong with being funny, adding silliness to it, but if you're gonna have, especially if you're gonna have a champion as a bad guy, they gotta be straightforward and look, this is what it is. So
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one.
yeah.
Now let me ask you this question: What what do you think? With we got SummerSlam coming up, and we got Lashley, and it looks like it's going to be Goldberg coming.
Yeah, most likely.
And so what about the big return that happened this past Sunday, and then of course he showed up on Raw. And I'm talking about Mr. John Cena returning to WWE television to what he said take on Roman Reigns.
Yeah. If you're a follower online and you do a lot of, you do read up on wrestling, keep up with it, it's been talked about for a while that Cena was going to come back and take on Reigns at SummerSlam. So it is interesting. I was never really a Cena fan. I think it's kind of one of those now though, like that he's not around all the time. It is cool to see him come back. You know what I'm saying? Like it was cool to see him to come back at the end of Money in the Bank like that. I think it was smart for them to not to not talk. Like don't even say anything. You know what I'm saying? Just come out, play the music, and just let it come out like that. And then of course, he had to show up on Raw. I think they're just trying to. I think in a sense, him being on Raw was a little bit to help with, to appease USA, but also they were probably trying to get the ratings, you know what I'm saying? Because they announced it pretty much definitely the night before, that he was going to be on there. So, and they told me he was going to open the show. So why not advertise, the hell out of it to, to get people to tune in as soon as the show comes on.
Right.
But I honestly think it's going to be a great match. Because I feel like Cena is still in his prime. He is older and he ain't wrestled for a while. No, but I think he can pick up just where he left off. And then, of course, the way Roman Reigns is right now, I mean, he's at the top of his level that he's been, in the longest time.
Right.
So let me ask you this. Go ahead. Well, let me ask you
Well,
this real quick.
Go ahead.
Same question I asked you about Goldberg. Right now, what's your percent that John Cena could walk out the new Universal Champion?
Man, I've been pondering that. That's a good question. I've been pondering it. Really, I just, man, I'm gonna have to say there's probably about at least a 30% chance he walks out.
Yeah.
I mean, just because of the simple fact of I don't see Cena staying around as long as people would hope.
Right.
So I think he's got about a 30% chance of walking out the Universal Champion.
Yeah. See, it's being talked that he's getting ready to do a movie again right after SummerSlam,
right.
And it's in another country too. Doesn't mean they can't give him the champion, because we've seen it when Brock Lesnar was champion. There'd be times where he wouldn't show up, about every other week, for Raw, whatever, and it's like, that's pointless, and I don't see them going that route.
Right. Especially nowadays with all the restrictions.
Correct. Best case scenario, if Cena walks out, Cena walks out of that match champion, best case scenario would be that Big E breaks in and and challenges and cashes in his Money in the Bank. But right. I don't see from what we've talked, I don't think Big E is going to go for that title. We do probably believe that Big E is going to go to Raw and challenge Bobby Lashley after SummerSlam. That is, if Lashley walks out champion, or he could cash it in on him that same night too.
Right.
But yeah, of course, go and talk about Goldberg and Cena. I think we can both agree that the biggest reason they're doing this is because it's SummerSlam. They want to make SummerSlam very huge, because that usually is their second biggest pay-per-view of the year. You got WrestleMania first, and then SummerSlam finishes out the summer, of course.
Right.
And then
because that starts like their new going into
new season.
The season.
Yes. And then you got, like I said, you got Survivor Series that'll be in November, but I don't know. I feel like over the last few years, Survivor Series isn't that big of an event like it used to be.
Right. I agree with you. There.
But yeah, they want to do everything to to make it one big pay-per-view, which, like I said, I think they're doing a pretty good job of it. So yeah, should be a good show. Like I said, from what's being said, what they believe the card's going to be, it should be a very, very good show.
Right. I agree with you there. Something that I did want to talk about is this past Monday night on Raw. We know that, and for those of you that don't know, I'm sure most of you know now, the Money in the Bank winners were Nikki Cross and Big E. Okay. Well, now it's Nikki ASH.
Yeah.
Okay, because her new character. I'm sorry, apologize, but those were the two winners for Money in the Bank. So going into Raw on Monday night, we know that Charlotte and Rhea Ripley are going to have a match later on the night for the women's championship, championship, Raw champion. So, anyways, long story short, the match was going. They looked pretty good. And then, there was a DQ, and Charlotte retained the title. And then all of a sudden, bam, Nikki's music hits, and we got a new champion.
We got Miss Money in the Bank cashed in. Yes. What's funny is that I stopped watching it because once I seen Goldberg pop up, I'm like, okay, nothing. I didn't, because we kind of had a feeling that Becky Lynch was going to show up in the night. But at the same time, we were like, are they going to bring two people back that ain't been on TV the same night? I don't know. So I turned it off before the show ended, and you had sent me a message, and all you said was, and the new winner. And I'm like, oh, man, now I got to watch this. And so I turned it on and watched it, and I'm like, how do I feel about it? Like, from listening to some other podcasts and listening to what some of the people had to say, a lot of people were worried that they were going to kind of do with her like they did Otis last year. You know, that it was going to kind of be a gimmicky thing that where she would probably hold on to it for a little bit, do some funny stuff with it, you know, make it interesting, and then either cash it in and lose, or, you know, somehow do what they did with Otis and take it off of her and give it to somebody else. I don't know. Like, depending on where they can go with it, I think they can make it interesting. I just hope they don't make it silly. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. Like, you know, like we talked a little bit the other day, that we felt like they should have probably held on to those Money in the Banks for a while, especially Big E. Right. I hope he holds on to it for a little bit before, like, you know, instead of them just trying to hurry up and use that just to, you know, to make something big. But I think it ended Raw good because nobody probably really expected it to happen. At least I know I didn't, because if I did, I didn't either. I watched it. You know, we were more worried about we were more worried about Becky Lynch showing up than we were cashing in. I mean, if anything, you know. But that's what's weird to me, though, and I guess that is probably why they gave Charlotte Flair the champion the night before, so they could set that rematch up for the next night on Raw, just so they can have that cash in. You know, they could have went another route, yeah, but, you know, did they just do it for that, or did they want to give Charlotte another title ring? Well, we'll never know. But yeah, I think as long as they make it interesting and don't make it silly and goofy, because that kind of character, if we've seen in the past with other people before, just doesn't really, you know, it doesn't send off like champion, you know, vibes to you.
So, right, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
that it was, like I said, it was a big surprise for me. I mean, for that to happen. So yeah, we'll see where that goes with that gimmick for sure.
Yeah. Now let me ask you. Now for everybody out there, we all know that NXT has been around for a while. They've really hit it off great. You know, from where they're going, or wherever they've been and where they are now, you know, a lot of people, I think, have migrated from WWE and watching NXT more now. I've never really been a big fan of NXT. Not that I don't like it. It's just, since I'm the kind of person that when I watch wrestling, if I don't know anybody on the show, it's hard for me to get in. So, you know, and I need to invest the time in it. But John, I know you watch NXT pretty good. So what I want to bring up is, you know, Karrion Kross showing up, you know, on Raw this past Monday night. How do you feel about it? Do you think it was a good representation? Do you think what they did with him and Jeff Hardy was good? How do you feel about it?
Man, honestly, you know, and people that watch NXT know that Kross has been a dominant champion. I mean, he's a dominant champion, and he kicks people's asses, just plain and simple.
Right.
But the thing about it is, with him debuting on Raw, number one, that the way they debuted him was terrible. They just said, "Oh well, Karrion Kross is debuting today." Well, what the hell? You need to have. I thought he was just going to show up kind of like they did with Finn Balor on Smackdown last week.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't do that. And then you have the NXT champion. Now, to some people, that don't mean squat. But I mean, you got the NXT champion. The guy is over that company over there, right, that particular part of the company, and he comes on Raw, and he faces Jeff Hardy. Number one, Jeff Hardy, really? Come on. And then he gets into the match with Jeff Hardy, in which he dominates like the entire match.
Yeah.
And then Hardy pins him by cheating, by putting his feet up on the ropes. 1, 2, 3, it's over. You know, so to me, it was a horrible debut for Karrion Kross. And they just, to me, WWE screwed it up. They really screwed it up.
That's what I'm saying. It's kind of weird, you know, like I would have understood if maybe Samoa Joe came out and distracted him, you know what I'm saying? Because they got their match coming up. But, you know, not that I don't think Jeff Hardy's a bad contender, because usually, you know, nothing against Jeff Hardy, he's been around forever, but usually they'll do that where the first time they, they introduce somebody like that where they'll kind of, squash them. But, yes, you can look at it and be like, well, he cheated to win. So he technically didn't lose like straight up. So I think that saves it a little bit.
Right.
But like you said, are they building it up to a feud that when he does debut, or maybe they did that to add fuel to the fire on NXT the next show, for Samoa Joe. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they're using that for some kind of storyline to make it
Well,
make it more interesting. But
it's funny you say that part with the storyline, because the next night Samoa Joe was looking for him because if you watched the NXT last week, they had a championship match between Johnny Gargano and Karrion Kross for the NXT championship, with the referee being Samoa Joe. In the end, Samoa Joe ended up provoking Karrion Kross, and he choked him out, put him to sleep. That made Joe mad, so the next night on SmackDown, Joe is confronted with William Regal, who says, you can't go doing that in your position. And Joe's like, well, how about him just, being on Raw like last week, which we all know was last night, so Joe had to mess up. But regardless of, they didn't really play it with him being Jeff Hardy. They just went right back into the storyline they were already in on NXT.
Right.
So it's like, you can't have him on one show doing one thing and then have him on the other show like nothing ever happened with the other thing. Yeah. I mean, to me, that's silly. Either have it where that crosses over into Raw to make it more interesting for your next pay-per-view, which is NXT TakeOver 36, which is going to be supposedly after SummerSlam.
Right.
Okay? So make it more interesting. They didn't. They left the two separated, and it didn't work. And that's just me.
Yeah. It really is. It's odd. I mean, but even if they had him beat Jeff Hardy straight up, it's almost like, what was the point even having him there? They didn't. I don't know. Like, did they do it just to try to get people to tune in? Because, we were hoping it's like, if he's going to show up, why advertise it? But that's what they do now. They want you to, be able to tune in and watch it. They don't want you to just turn it off and record it and watch it another time.
Right, because it was one of the most kept secrets. If y'all read, anybody that reads the news and rumors online, me and Jason read them all the time.
Yeah.
But there was never really an indication of when he was supposed to be there.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So
especially because to me they ruined.
Right, to me they ruined a pop that could have been huge for him, and big for WWE fan base, but they didn't do it. They ruined it, in my opinion. WWE screwed that up. Whoever was in charge of that, you messed it up. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's I don't know. Like you said, when him being the champion, it's kind of weird that that they brought him over and then to lose like that, especially when I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I don't know if that was a last minute decision or where they're going to go with it. I guess we'll find out. But so yeah.
So did you happen to see that next week on Raw, they're having another tag team match between AJ Styles and the Viking Raiders again for the belts? For the belts. Yes.
That's pretty interesting.
After that 6-man tag match that they had on Raw. Now let me ask you this question. We're gonna get into this question. What do you think about the Drew McIntyre Jinder Mahal feud? I know we talked about this earlier on the phone, but I want the listeners to hear what we both think about this.
All right. Well, not to hate on anybody that's in wrestling. Everybody has who they like and who they don't like. Okay. For one, I'm going to tell everybody right now, if you know me, I am the bad guy kind of wrestler person. Like, I like bad guys. That's always been me. And like I said, everybody has their taste on who they like and who they don't like. I've never understood the likeness of Jinder Mahal. Not that I don't think he's, he's definitely athletic. You can just tell by that. And, he probably is not that bad of a wrestler, but I think it's more of his character that just, I don't know, it just throws me off. But in a sense, I'm glad to see Drew McIntyre in a different situation because it has gotten old with him being pretty much in the title match. I think he's been almost in the main event for the title out of the last like 15 pay-per-views. I think he was like 12 or 13 of them. You know what I'm saying? Leading up to Money in the Bank. But they did have to give him something else to kind of go through. I'm really surprised if this, I mean, most likely this is going to lead to a match at SummerSlam. But I'm kind of surprised that that's where they're going. Like I said, I guess they got to do something. I mean, not everybody can have a big match. I get that. They got to have some lower card matches through the night. But I mean, I guess they're playing it off of how they were friends before, and I think that's where they're going to go with it to make it look good. You know what I'm saying? But that's one of the lower feuds that right now, it's a filler just to get through for a little bit, until they decide where they're going to go with, most likely the draft. Because, and I think if you look at the way they're going for SummerSlam, most of these matches they're having at SummerSlam, besides maybe give or take a few, really are going to be one-off matches kind of things. Or one-off feuds, okay? Because, say Goldberg. Goldberg loses. We know in his contract he only fights twice a year. Well, this is his second pay-per-view now. So, does that guarantee he's going to lose? I don't know. Anything can change. But most likely if he loses, we know he's not going to come back and request a rematch for the next 3 pay-per-views. So we know that's going to be over. John Cena and Roman Reigns, same thing. If Cena loses, we know he's most likely going to film a movie. He still may show up time to time, but it's not going to be an ongoing feud. The women's titles, I think those will be ones that'll probably keep going. But I think SummerSlam's more being built up for the hype and the notoriety and, just to get more people to tune in and maybe get the fans back interested and be like, okay, we're seeing big matches at SummerSlam. Maybe they're going to keep this bigness going, continue on for Raw and SmackDown. So
I agree with you.
And then it's going to lead to the draft. And the draft, originally the draft was supposed to be after SummerSlam at the end of August into September. But from when I last read, that now they're talking about early October. So that means that there will be another pay-per-view in between the draft and the SummerSlam. So it's hard to say. So
right, I agree with you there. They're gonna WWE is trying to really pump up everybody being back on the road and getting things done. Something that I do find interesting with all this is, especially with WWE trying to get things done and getting stuff in accordance to getting it done, is I'm really curious about ticket sales. And the reason I bring this up, I know I'm kind of going off track just a tad, but the one thing I'm curious about is they've already canceled 2 shows. One being a live show, which was in Gainesville, Florida, due to low ticket sales. Another one was in Atlanta, Georgia, for a Smackdown. So that's a big one.
Oh, absolutely.
Smackdown. And now it's been moved to Knoxville, Tennessee. So I'm just curious to see as to what's really going on, because the more I've kind of read into it a little bit, they're saying that they hope that they get these places sold out or get plenty of fans, or they may have to bring fans down in the crowd to make it look more filled.
Up, yeah.
Right. So I'm just curious as to why that is. I mean, I don't know if it's because of the potential of getting the nasty bug, or they could potentially ticket prices may be high.
Yeah.
I mean, matter of fact, we're going to a live show this Sunday.
Yes, we
coming
are.
up.
Yep.
And it's the first time. Yeah, it's been first time in what? Freaking, I'd say at least 5 years.
I was gonna say it's been about at least 3 or 4. Probably, you're probably about right, about 5.
Since they've been here where we live in Louisville, near Louisville.
Yep.
So, and it cost us, $120 a ticket.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even the great, the ring seats.
No, that's ninth row, because the ring seats are for a house show, super show. Yes, it's it's got all the names on there, but it's not live on TV. First 3 rows are $300 a ticket. And,
right.
I mean, that's just outrageous. I mean,
So can you imagine what it would be like for, a Raw or a
yeah,
SmackDown?
yeah.
And
I
then,
mean,
you already know. Look at SummerSlam.
yes, because
You looked at
I
those
was looking
prices.
up tickets because I was thinking about trying to go to SummerSlam. And I get it. Like I said, it is a big show, so it's like their second WrestleMania. I do get it, but front row seats $5,000. I mean, but I guess in a sense, you think about going to a big name concert. They're like that too around there. For their prices like
Oh
that.
yeah.
But now I guess like the one good advantage. When you pay that money, you get a chair. Yeah, so that's nice. You get to take something home, but I mean that's wild. The
Oh yeah,
prices of them are
definitely.
wild. And I get it. At the same time too, it's COVID. Or well, post COVID, kind of still in it a little bit. They lost a lot of money over the years, over the year or whatever. So they got to recuperate, and of course prices have went up for everything. So
Oh yeah.
these arenas are probably going to charge more money to the company to use the arena. So they
Right.
got to offset that by raising the prices up some. So
I agree with you there. So, what something else I wanted to kind of get into with this past um, Raw is, we know that Matt Riddle, has been kind of solo. RK Bro has been,
bro.
solo since since before Money in the Bank. So my question is, man, and I know I'll talk to you about this, and I want to ask all the audience out there too that's listening to this. Where is Randy Orton?
Good question.
He's been there's nothing been on social media that I'm aware
Nothing
of.
at
There's
all.
nothing. It has been dead silent. So, question I have is, where is Randy Orton and what's going on?
Well, when it first happened, like we talked about before with what they do in the past, um, usually if something big happened behind the scenes, whatever that involved like something serious, usually they'll go about not really even talking about the wrestler. You know what I'm saying? They kind of just cut everything off for a little bit. But Randy Orton's been talked about every week on and they keep him active. So then is it storyline driven? I don't know. Because like you said, there's nothing at all online, and that's what's crazy. Because usually something. Like okay,
Right,
to
right,
go with like Keith Lee, like even though Keith Lee was off for a while, and they never really gave you a clear answer, they still said there was no heat on him. You know what I'm saying? That like it was more, there really wasn't like a creative issue. It's just some personal things. I mean, there's
right.
nothing at all. I feel like it's storyline driven, um, but I think they've overextended it too much now for him to be off. Um,
Right.
you know, uh, like I told you, I feel like they're going to build. They were either first. I felt like they were going to build to Randy Orton turning on RK, the Bro. But the way they're going now, I don't think so. I think they're realizing that that's a big thing because they can merchandise the hell out of that RK Bro with that, and they know they're going
Right.
to sell a lot of merchandise that way. So I think they're going with eventually they're going to tag team and maybe be tag team champions. I don't know, but
I think they could,
you
but I
know
mean, he's missing.
that's what I'm
I mean,
saying.
he's
But they,
MIA, and
but
they quit talking about him here. Here lately, they
well,
quit
that's what I'm
talking about
saying. The Bro talks about him all the time.
him.
So it's
Right.
like they're putting his name out there. So it's like maybe something really is going on personal behind the scenes, and Riddle's just keeping his name on there, and they want him to keep talking about him so that people won't forget all about it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I don't see that's just the good question is because did the fans really care about Randy Orton all of a sudden? Because now they don't, and it's too quiet for me.
Yeah, I don't know. But speaking of where people been, what is going on with the Fiend, man? Bray Wyatt, the Fiend or Bray Wyatt, like
Silence on that end too, other than them saying that supposedly he was booked for an August 9th
Yes.
Raw.
Yeah. But from what I
And
read today, now they're saying he's
yeah,
probably going to be off longer than that. So, I'm kind of hoping that they're really being hush hush about it. And then maybe at SummerSlam, he makes a surprise return and, starts a feud with somebody. Um,
right.
but it's like that is one of the best characters that they've had in a long time. Um, even with Bray Wyatt, like Bray Wyatt's a hell of a character just in his, himself. Even when he's with the Firefly and he's not even the Fiend, like he makes it interesting. It's a very interesting story, but it's weird that the way it went off at WrestleMania, where he's then he came back and was like, "Well, I'll be back." Maybe they're gonna come back with a totally new character. Maybe they're trying to keep him off as long to get people to stop talking about him, and they do a total character change for Bray Wyatt. Maybe that's what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they just want to get rid of the Fiend altogether, because we seen during COVID they did some really awesome stuff with the Fiend that they couldn't do in front of a live crowd.
Right.
And maybe now they're afraid that what else can they do at this point now that where they got to have a crowd that they can still make it interesting. You know what I'm saying?
But and I agree with you there. But if they're trying to get rid of the Fiend character, okay, and just silence him out, fade him out, change him, whatever, then why are we still having, I guess, the remnants or the after persona of the Fiend with Alexa Bliss over the last year's time?
Right.
Why are we still on her character for? I mean, because that to me is still carrying on the legacy of the Fiend, even though she's got Lily, which that's a story in itself. That's for a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, the one thing to say about that though is that even though her character is still like that and it's based off of from what her and the Fiend have, they did change her music, so it doesn't have the the Firefly Funhouse music no more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's one way that they can get away from that. But she still has the playground looks like the Playhouse kind of design. So
right.
There was talks online that maybe Bray Wyatt come back and start something again with her. They don't really do no intergender very often, but they can make that happen and do something. Because mind control of Alexa versus the craziness of the Fiend. So it could be a story that they can make interesting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But
they could I don't know. I just hope he doesn't come back and really feud with her, because I'll tell you why. Because when she did what she did at WrestleMania, and I know we're going way back to earlier this year, but when she changed into that black gooey stuff coming down over that little brain
little
thing,
headpiece thing she had,
right? Like that, she looked cool then. That was like the great character, and they didn't do anything with it. That was it.
Yeah.
So I hope that they don't go back that route with him. I really wish that she would change out of that character and go back to being just like Alexa Bliss, maybe with a little more of an attitude or something, or pair her up to somebody.
Yeah, I like the character. I and I know we both are different on that. I do like the character. I think it's very, very interesting. It is weird that they haven't talked about the doll Lily for a while, but you just seen her come out on Money in the Bank and they showed the graphic on the screen of the doll. So it's like she's still in effect somehow.
Well, she came back on Raw. The doll was there.
Yeah. Okay. You're right. Okay.
She was there, and I'm beginning to wonder too. Speaking of feuds and stuff starting up, I'm beginning to wonder if she's going to have a feud with Eva Marie, because that's the second time
they've slowly tried to like bring them in together and
in
moments.
It just, I don't think it's going to work. I mean, that's just me. I don't like it, but again, things could go differently. But I don't know how that feud's going to play out. We'll see what happens. We'll let WWE play it out, but it just right now, to me, as it is, it doesn't seem good.
Yeah. No, I agree. Let's see what else been going on in the world of wrestling.
Well, you've got. Let's see here. We've covered a lot of stuff, a lot of ground today.
Yeah.
Let's see what's coming up. Of course, we know.
Like I said, we got
Smackdown coming up this Friday night. They're going to be live in Miami.
Yes. Yep. Good old Miami.
That is something I will touch on real quick since we
Yeah, I
brought
thought
this
of
up.
something too. Go ahead. I'll let yours up
Did
first.
you happen to see where Carmella and Bianca Belair are going to have a title rematch on SmackDown, but it's not going to be at the same place. It's going
Really?
to be somewhere different. Yeah. And just like, because they're going to be in Cleveland, I think. Yeah, they're going to be in Cleveland, Ohio coming up soon.
Uh-huh.
All right, I think it's this Friday. I think, I'm sorry if I'm wrong on this, guys, but I'm pretty sure they're going to have from Cleveland, Ohio, a SmackDown, and they're going to be in Miami. I think that's what it is. That's why I keep saying Miami. I think they're going to be down in Miami um, for something. I don't know. I could be getting AEW mixed up here, but I do know that there are going to be two different spots. One of those is going to be in a different place in Florida. The other one's going to be actually in Cleveland. So SmackDown itself will be in Cleveland this Friday, and then the girls are fighting someplace else. I forget what they named. They did say that on Raw.
Right.
So I don't know. It was really messed up how that was going to play out.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. So I guess we can kind of go over a little bit of some rumors that we've been hearing.
Right?
We talked a few of them.
Rumor mill,
The
mill,
rumor
mill.
mill. I read today that that it sounded like it was short lived, but we know back about a month and a half ago, quite a few wrestlers were released, and
Right?
there was word today that there was some merchandise, some T-shirts online that just popped back up for Braun Strowman, and then I'm pretty sure they came back down. Correct?
They said that there was new. The word new was in there, and they took that off.
Okay. Yeah. See, that just it makes me wonder if somebody screwed up by accident and released that online quicker than they were supposed to. Um, because just to go back on that a little bit, that was a big surprise to see Strowman, Aleister Black, which is now on AEW. Those were the two
Right.
big names that were released that shocked everybody. It came about afterwards, that the reason with Braun Strowman was pretty much because of his huge contract, and which led to a lot of speculation. Not to like you said, not to go too far back into everything, but there was a lot of word going around that WWE was for sale. Could that still be true? We don't know. Anything can happen.
Right.
But yeah, that's one of the rumors going around that is it possible that Braun Strowman's coming back? We don't know. But that was an interesting one that I saw earlier.
I mean, see that would be interesting if they did bring back Braun Strowman. I don't see it, but they could very well do it. They, I don't know, man. It just Strowman, right now, as I read today, just doing appearances somewhere. He wants 20K plus some other stuff, to go along with it. I mean,
Right.
and that $20,000 just to show up, man. Hell, that's going to hurt a lot of bit. That right there, which I understand. Prices of things go up, airfare and all that. He's got to pay for all that. I get it.
Right.
It'll cover his stuff. But you mean to tell me that he's going to get paid 20 grand to show up somewhere and for maybe 2-3 hours to fly back? I mean, that it does add up, but that doesn't add up to 20 grand to me.
Right. Right.
But that puts a hurt on the people that want them, because then it's going to drive the prices up for ticket sales for everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I understand it, but 20K, damn, that's quite a bit, especially if you're an indie promoter or something trying to do indies.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to go from making so much money, you got to do something. You can't short-live yourself and and not make money. But good thing about it for everybody that that does get released now. Like I said, we've definitely seen with Aleister Black went to AEW. If you're a diehard wrestling fan, everybody knows what AEW is now. It's been around for over a year now. I'm slowly getting into it. John, I know you kind of been watching a lot more.
Right.
We've had the privilege to meet some of the new guys from that are in
Yes,
AEW.
we did. Yes, we did.
That was pretty cool. But AEW is legit. I think they're the real deal. I don't think they're going to be a TNA where they're going to look good for a year or two. They definitely got the financial backing for them. That's pretty much what's going to keep them going. The only thing I think that does hurt them, and I think is what we're going to start running into now, is their roster's getting pretty full. You know what I'm saying? So too many, the wrestlers that are on WWE right now that are looking to get out, you only can keep adding so many people to the new rosters. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Especially on AEW.
And they have a lot of shows too,
Yeah, they do. They do. But you can definitely tell and it's a good thing, but you can definitely tell that their atmosphere versus the WWE is totally different.
By far.
And I really think, and it's a good thing because, like I said, it does compete. Excuse me, but the best thing I do like about AEW is that they are bringing that ruthlessness back. They're bringing that aggression. They're taking chances. Now, yes, some of the things that they did, they've done, it has looked a little cheesy because it didn't fall through right. But you know what? They're a new company. They're learning. They're getting they're getting it down pat. But they're making it risky. They're making it edgy. I like, even though that I'm I don't watch a lot of the other promotions, but I do like that they're doing the interpromotional work. The champion. I mean, he got 4 titles now? Is it 4 world titles?
Yeah. He's got obviously the AEW championship.
Yeah.
The Impact championship.
Yeah.
He's got somebody. There's another one. He's got 4 titles. I think
4 titles. And it makes it interesting. Now, as for those other promotions, like I said, we don't really watch them, so I don't know how interesting it is on their side of things. You know what I'm saying? Because of course he's more advertised and more, in AEW. But yeah, like I said, I think AEW is cool. I hope that they really start touring a lot more and they do come close around here because I'd love to go to one of their shows. You know what I'm saying? Just to see what it's like in person at theirs compared to this WWE.
Because matter of fact, August the 13th, it's going to be the new AEW Backlash, I believe is what's called, or something like that. I forget exactly what they've named it.
Yeah.
But it happens August the 13th. And a matter of fact, I believe it's in January of 2022. Dynamite is moving to TBS, and the other show that's going to be on Friday nights is going to be on TNT.
Gotcha. Yeah.
They did that, I think, because of the whole basketball thing.
Right.
Where they
Right.
So, if you think about it, if you look at WWE shows, they've got, the 2 main shows, Raw and SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got NXT, and then you got like 205 Live, and then you got like NXT UK. Okay.
Yeah.
But like AEW's got like, Dark and stuff like that, which is on their YouTube channel. So you don't see too many of those unless you tune in. It's on a Monday night too. So
Right.
their flagship is going to be Dynamite, and their other flagship show behind it's going to be their other one in August.
Right.
And the one in August is going to be right after SmackDown. It's going to be on at 10 o'clock. So if you're a big wrestling fan, you're going to love it because you're going to go from Raw, not Raw, I'm sorry, excuse me, from SmackDown to AEW's, show. But it's only going to be for an hour compared to the 2-hour Dynamite. And that gives them 3 hours total.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you don't want
to be interesting.
Yeah, for them being where they're at right now, like, they got the potential to grow and grow fast. They got the roster to have more showtime than that they need to. But you don't want to see them grow too fast, and expand too fast and just make it dull. But like I said, it's good for the wrestling world. Can it ever get to the point of WCW versus WWF days? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Where, having because when NXT and AEW was both on Wednesdays, even though I didn't get into it as much because, like I said, I'm not a big NXT fan, but it's cool to see them go head to head like that. I'd love to see them either go on a Friday night or or a Monday night at the same exact times eventually. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Is it smart for business? Even with AEW, being not as big, but they are getting a hell of a following. But is it really smart to take that risk and go head to head? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because they went head to head with NXT, but NXT is not WWE's flagship. You know what I'm saying? If AEW went against Raw, it would have been interesting just to see, even if they did it for a few weeks. You know what I'm saying? Just to see what would happen. Like, see how much more the ratings for Raw would go down, or AEW's go down. So
Raw ratings have been awful here lately. So if AEW went head to head with Raw, say 2 weeks ago, I would have been positive AEW would have took out.
Oh, I'm sure.
The ratings. Speaking of ratings for Raw, this past Monday night they were up to like 1.9 million.
Yeah, it was up 20% from the week below or week before.
So good for them on that note. But as me and you have talked, and I want to hear the audience. Would love to hear what the audience has to say about it. Is I feel like that SmackDown is the new flagship for WWE, not Raw anymore. SmackDown.
I think that's a big thing with them going to Fox. Because they signed a hell of a contract TV deal with them, to make all this money. And I think that because I think they're, from what I last remember, I haven't seen them for a while, but they're supposed to be going away from Fox though eventually, aren't they? On Friday nights.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd have to look
how much
into
the
that.
Contract is.
But yeah, there was something that they're supposed to switch and go to another network eventually, anyways. But I think it still might be owned by Fox, maybe, or something like that. I don't know exactly. But I guess a couple of things we can talk about real quick. A few gripes. One of my gripes, Peacock. Why did WWE go to Peacock? I know everybody that's in the USA. If you watched the Money in the Bank from right before the Money in the Bank men's match started, it was like laggy. But evidently it was rough, and it was all U.S. across. From what I've read, because it did start working about 10, 15 minutes into the match, and what they did was Peacock switched over to their international stream, and that's why it was working. So, but of course, WWE did it for the money that they're going to make off the Peacock, but worst decision ever to come off the WWE network.
I agree. And to follow up with that, too, I read where WWE had no idea that was even happening.
Yeah.
So my question is, how in the world do you not know what's happening? I mean, you have a television truck. You should be streaming. You should have somebody watching the stream
right.
to see and be like, there's a problem here. I mean, this is a major pay-per-view off of one of the worst years before as far as no fans. I mean, this is big. And to have it happen right before a major, to me, it wasn't that great of a match, but a major match, with the men's Money in the Bank. And this happens. I mean, man, they recovered, and luckily they recovered.
Right.
But man, I tell you that, especially, me and you, we pay our little $5 a week or month or whatever it is for Peacock.
Yeah.
But man, could you, I wonder if the actual pay-per-view people that paid for it had a problem. Probably not. But I don't even know what the going rate is for a pay-per-view for wrestling anymore. I mean, is there even such a thing? Does pay-per-view exist?
I don't know. I know they do them for like UFC and MMA fights, and and like some of their like special boxing matches and stuff like that too. But
I'll tell you a gripe that I've got, and it burns my biscuits, is the constant on Raw, the constant rematches every single week between the same people.
Yeah.
Come on. Please, come on. You're bringing people back. Try to do something. Get us something going. Because this thing of just like next week, the Raw Tag Team titles are on the line again between Omos and AJ Styles versus the Viking Raiders. This is now the fourth time or close to it that we've seen this. Come on.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
I mean, you got a 3-hour show, and this is what we get. I mean, I hate to be that way, but it's like, man, come on.
Right. No, I get it. I get it. Like I said, I'm hoping. Like there was a lot of talk about that. A lot of their storylines and stuff that they had big plans for. They were waiting until they go back on the road and in front of fans again to go. And so, I can't. Money in the Bank was a pretty good pay per view. There were some things that I did that I disliked about it on some of the decisions they went, but overall, I can't base Raw off anything because it's the startup for SummerSlam.
Right.
So they got to get things going, but time will tell. And we'll see what happens. But
yeah, I agree. Man, oh man, we've been doing this now for about an hour now?
Yeah, right about an hour.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We did a live stream right before Money in the Bank. Like I said, as people start watching these, it was mainly friends and family that saw it. So we didn't put it. We're not putting it on the YouTube page or nothing. But we were just kind of getting a feel out there, letting people know what to expect and everything. But like I said, I'm Jason. That's John.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is two dudes with attitudes. Like we put in our as we said in our Facebook Live. This podcast has been in the works for at least since almost about a year ago, probably maybe a couple months, short. It was really just going to be a straight sound audio podcast. We were going to do it in John's basement that you can see right there. We tested it out, see what was going to work, what wasn't going to work. But life happens, things go on, and we just never really got around to it. And then a couple months ago, well, probably a little longer than that, I think it was probably about March, we started really talking about it again and wanted to do, it's like, well, let's not make it a video, you know what I'm saying? Because that way we can interact. We want us to see you, you can see us. Well, of course you can't see you, but you can see us. But yeah, like I said, we're just getting started. Some things will change as time goes on.
Oh yeah.
There's things that we're doing now that we probably won't do. We're going to see what works, what doesn't. But it's something fun to do. We know there's a lot of wrestling podcasts out there already. But we're hoping that we can put our feelers out there, and hope people want to hear what we got to say. We want to make this. Right. We want to make this very interactive in a way. We want everybody a part of this with us.
I agree with you there.
We want to be able to bring people on time to time. Not to really give, we don't really have too much big plans as to where we're going to go. Like I said, we're taking it day by day to see what will happen. We got a couple things that. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. My bad.
Well, you're fine. I'm just saying.
Oh no. What I was just going to say was, with that being said, of hearing from the fans, as far as once we get to YouTube going and get live, lives up and stuff like that on our social media and stuff like that, we can. If you'd like to reach out to the show, with your responses to what we talked about, or to something like that, you can reach us at 2dudeswithattitudes97@gmail.com. You can email us what your thoughts were, or maybe suggestion of the topic that you want us to cover. You may have something that we may not have thought of, or something like that, or just want to hear your opinion about the show. Just hit us up on our email address at 2dudeswithattitude97@gmail.com, and I do believe that's an S at the end of the E, so it'd be 2 dudes with attitudes.
Yeah, and we'll put that in the description too.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said, by the time this video is getting posted, we should have the Instagram and the Facebook page going too, so we'll put all that in the description. But yeah, like I said, feel free to to comment. put some stuff that you think that, we did wrong, or things that you think that we could work better on. We want to take everything in consideration. Like I said, we just want to have fun with this, and, and just talk wrestling. I mean, that's pretty much what it is.
Amen.
Like I said, two dudes with attitudes. If you're a die-hard wrestling fan, you'll know that came from back in the past, when Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash, known as Diesel at the time, that was their name. Craziest thing is, like I said, this whole podcast was working. We had us all having planned, the equipment and all that, setting all up. That was easy. Picking a name for this podcast was the hardest thing we came up with.
Yes, it
I
was.
tell you. That's all I got for now, John.
Right.
It's wrestling world, wrestling life. You know how it is. It's always moving and it's always going. So we can get off this microphone in 10 minutes and there can be breaking news.
Right.
So I'm sure, our next video, we're going to have a lot more to talk about again. So.
Right. I agree with you. We're going to, whenever this drops, it'll probably be, I think we said it might be around Sunday, for the podcast on the Spotify stuff. There may be a video to this, maybe, but don't hold your breath. I would just wait for the podcast to come out on Spotify. But if the video does happen to work and come out, it'll be on our YouTube channel at Two Dudes with Attitude podcast on YouTube. So again, it'll all be on our social media outlet. We'll get it all on there for you guys. Be on Facebook, Instagram as of right now. We're still pondering on the Twitter. I know a lot of people do tweet, and if we do decide to go on Twitter, we'll just put it in the Facebook and Instagram social media stuff for that Twitter account. Okay.
Absolutely.
So yeah, man, I think we've done a good job so far.
Yeah, like I said, for everybody that does watch on the YouTube channel, we hope you subscribe. We hope you like. Tell your wrestling fans, tune in. It'll probably be easier for most of y'all to probably listen to on the the actual audio podcast of things. But hey, we'll take it either way for get our name out there and to build it up, see what it can be. So.
I agree.
So,
Are you ready to wrap this up, partner?
I say we do it.
All right.
All right, guys. Like I said, I'm Jason.
I'm John.
This is Two Dudes with Podcasts. We'll see you guys later.